My 16-year-old daughter would get up early every morning to wash her bed sheets. She would then shower and hide her clothes. My daughter and son used to sleep in the same room. They had grown up now, but I hadn't paid attention to this fact. My daughter was growing weaker day by day. When I became suspicious, I entered their room one day. They were talking like a husband and wife might. When I suddenly opened the door, I was completely shocked. My name is Arushi, and this story is about my daughter Aditi and her life. I live in a small town in Bijnor. When I became a widow, my parents arranged my second marriage to a man who already had a son. I had a daughter from my previous marriage. Now my son and daughter slept in the same room. Every morning when they woke up, my daughter would change the sheets daily. Then she would quietly wash the old sheets and go take a shower. Sometimes my daughter would even faint. Day by day, she was growing increasingly weak. One morning, I went to my daughter's room early, but seeing the atmosphere there made me feel ashamed. The only thought that came from my heart was that God should never show such a scene to any mother, because that was my daughter and son. I became a widow just 2 years after my marriage. At that time, I was 18 years old because my parents had arranged my marriage when I was only 16. I was my parents' only daughter, but I always felt like I was a huge burden on them, as if I wasn't even their daughter. After I was born, my mother never experienced any happiness, and my father had desperately wanted a son. That's why he disliked me and always kept his distance. He didn't love me from his heart. He didn't even consider me his own and was always angry with me. Due to some family pressures, my father couldn't remarry, which is why he hated me so much. He always spoke to me harshly, and that's why he arranged my marriage so early. My husband was a teacher at a government school. We had a 3-year-old daughter, but one day while returning from school, he had an accident and died on the spot. He left me alone. That day was nothing short of a catastrophe for me. Mountains of troubles had fallen upon me. A few days later, my father-in-law sent me back to my parents' house. Perhaps I was a burden to him too. He didn't think well of me either. In his view, I was an unlucky woman, as if I had killed his son. Then I quietly returned to my parents' house. Even my parents considered me a burden. I would hold my daughter close and cry alone. After some time, my parents arranged my second marriage to a man who already had a son, and I had a daughter. We were similar in our situations, which is why our marriage took place. Otherwise, I wouldn't have received good marriage proposals. His son was 1 year younger than my daughter. His son's name was Abhishek, and my daughter's name was Aditi. We started living together, and time passed. Before we knew it, Aditi turned 16 and Abhishek turned 15. When Abhishek's father passed away, he too left this world forever, meaning my second husband also left us forever. His health had always been poor. He had been afflicted with various illnesses. We were somehow managing with his illnesses, but after his death it was as if the joy had vanished from our home. We had our own house, so we didn't worry about accommodation, and there was a small grocery store in our house. One night, when we were all sleeping, I suddenly heard a loud noise. My heart sank. I was very frightened. I saw that the noise came from Abhishek's room. When I went toward his room, I was shocked to see that the ceiling had collapsed. I was worried, wondering if Abhishek had been trapped under the ceiling. When I went closer and looked, Abhishek wasn't there. He must have gotten up to go to the bathroom, which is why his life was saved. I thanked God that Abhishek wasn't injured. If something had happened to him, how could I have faced his late father? But now we didn't have enough money to rebuild the ceiling. The room was completely ruined. The entire ceiling had collapsed, and we left it as it was. After that, I made my bed in the kitchen and told both children to sleep in the other room because it was very cold outside and no one could sleep there. In the room, there was only one bed and one cot. Even 2 people could barely sleep. Now they both slept in the same room. It was a compulsion. What could we do? The shop was in one room, and my husband had only built 3 rooms in the house. While 3 rooms were enough for the 3 of us, one room was also necessary for the shop. It was a compulsion. What could we do? We had to manage. One day, when my son slept in my daughter's room, something happened in the morning that left me shocked. Abhishek had already gotten up and sat down for breakfast, while Aditi was still sleeping. She had never slept this late. It was her habit to wake up early in the morning. I called out to her, but she didn't get up. After a while, I went to her room to check on her and found that she had fainted. I was terribly frightened, wondering what had happened to her. I immediately told Abhishek to call the nearby doctor to the house. When the doctor came, he said, "She has fainted. The girl is quite weak. She lacks iron. Don't make her do any heavy work. Just let her rest. Give her good food, fruits, etc. She'll get better." When Aditi regained consciousness, I went to her and asked what had happened to her. She started crying and said, "I just started feeling dizzy while sitting and I fainted." I told my daughter, "You rest. I'll make breakfast for you and bring it." When I returned with breakfast, I saw she wasn't in her room and the sheet was also missing from the bed. I went outside and saw her washing the sheet. I asked her, "Why are you washing this sheet?" "You're not well. The doctor told you to rest." I shouted at her and said, "Get up from here, go to your room and have breakfast. Eat and drink something, only then will you get better." She said, No, I need to wash this sheet to put on the bed. We only have 1 sheet in our house." I said, "Why has this ghost of washing the sheet suddenly possessed you? The sheet wasn't that dirty that you had to sit down to wash it. Leave it. I'll wash this sheet myself. Get up from here." She didn't listen to me and took the sheet to the roof to dry. Only after that did she have breakfast. Then she went to sleep for a while, and Abhishek had gone to work. I had only provided him with education up to high school, and he worked at a clothing store. He was very hard-working. I ran the small grocery store at home myself. Mostly children came to the store anyway. The day passed like this. That day, Abhishek told me he had brought food home, and Aditi had already gone to sleep in the room. He also went to sleep in the room. I had put my cot in the kitchen. Because of the changes, I couldn't sleep. I was remembering my husband. My second husband was very good. He took good care of me. He never taunted me about my first marriage, and he always treated my daughter as his own. I never told Abhishek that he was my stepson. He loved me more than his real mother and always listened to me. He was the only man in the house. He was our only support. Otherwise, where would 2 women go? He was also working well. I had told him to continue his education privately because if he had a good degree, he would get a good job. He was listening to me. Early in the morning, something happened again that shocked me. Aditi had fainted again, and this time, looking at her face, it seemed as if all the blood had been drained from her body. She had turned completely pale. I called the doctor again. The doctor said the same thing. "I told you to let her rest." "What did you feed her?" I told him everything. I said, "I fed her the same dal, vegetables, and fruits. I didn't make her do any work all day." The doctor said, "How did she become so weak again? Take this matter seriously, or your daughter's life could be in danger. Suddenly fainting and remaining unconscious for several hours is not a minor matter." The doctor explained everything seriously and left after a while. When Aditi regained consciousness, I told her, "If you do any work again, I won't listen to you." But a little while later, when I went to her room again, I was shocked to see what she was doing. She was washing the bedsheet again. This time I was watching her from a distance because whatever she was doing wasn't normal. She would get up from unconsciousness and start washing the sheet. What was going on? Why was she doing all this? Ever since my son started sleeping in her room, she had been doing this, and she had been fainting since then too. Abhishek was her stepbrother, but they had grown up together since childhood. There was love between them like real siblings. Then what was happening? Why was my daughter's health deteriorating day by day? I would cry and wonder what was going on. A woman becomes weak when she gives birth to children. Then there is absolutely no strength in her. But young girls shouldn't faint like this. This wasn't normal. The next day, she washed the sheet and dried it on the roof. She was watching around to make sure I didn't see her. I was watching all this from the kitchen window. I didn't let her realize that I was watching her. But what was my daughter doing? She went back to lie on the bed and covered herself with the top sheet so that I wouldn't know whether the bottom sheet was there or not. I didn't know. I made her have breakfast and gave her medicine. The store wasn't doing well. No big customers came to our store. Only children came to buy candies and toffees, spending 5 or 10 rupees and leaving. This wasn't enough to run the household. I was very worried, but I never told my children about this. I didn't tell Abhishek either because he was already working. If I had told him this, he would have become even more worried. But I was very concerned. On top of that, the doctor had said to feed my daughter good things. But in the house, there wasn't enough money even for dal and roti. Managing household expenses had become very difficult. But one day, something very strange happened. I heard my son, Abhishek, and Aditi talking about things I couldn't understand at all. My son said, "You've already made yourself sick. This won't work. If you're having so much trouble, then we can't do this." My daughter said, "No, I want to do this work. Such opportunities don't come often, and I didn't know that all this would happen to me. I didn't know that I don't have enough strength." My son said, "Now you know, right? I can't risk your life." My daughter's point was, "No, just 2 to 4 more weeks, and after that, this opportunity won't come." What was going on? I couldn't understand what they were talking about. One day, I saw something that left me stunned. Early in the morning, my daughter washed the sheet again and put it on the roof to dry, and she was standing to one side, vomiting. I said, "What happened to you?" She got scared and started crying, saying, "Suddenly my stomach got upset." I said, "What do you mean your stomach got upset? What are you doing? And why do you keep washing the sheet again and again? What are you hiding from me? If I find out that you've done something that has put my and your honor at stake, I will never forgive you." My daughter was shocked. She said, "Mom, what kind of things are you saying? It's not like that. It seems like today you've watched some movie, or someone has filled your ears against me, which is why you're saying such things. Why would I do that? And if I've washed this sheet, what's the big deal? The sheet was dirty, so I washed it. You know that I've been sick for many days, so because of the medicine, my stomach is also upset. If I vomited, it doesn't mean anything else." My daughter was talking to me like this. I slapped her across the face and she fell to the ground. Just then, Abhishek also came. He said, "Mom, what are you doing?" "Why did you hit her?" I said to him, "Yes, I hit her." I raised my hand against her. I should have done this much earlier, but I still haven't reached the bottom of this matter. The day I find out about you two, just see. At that time, I didn't know what had happened to me. Whatever was coming to my heart, I was saying, which I shouldn't have done. At night, my eyes suddenly opened, and I saw that the light in my children's room was on. What were they doing at that time? They should have been sleeping by now, and they had told me in the evening that they would sleep early. When I went near the room, not only were they awake, but they were also talking. They were very happy about something. My son was saying, "You are very lucky." The daughter was saying, "Yes, I am lucky. But tomorrow again, when I get sick, Mom will be very worried seeing me. How long will we lie like this?" The son said, "Let's continue for a few more days, then everything will be fine." I was shocked listening to their conversation. Today, I couldn't contain myself. I tried to open the door of the room, but I was shocked to find it locked from inside. Why had they locked the door from inside? What was the reason? The weather was changing. They should have slept with the door open. I started knocking on the door repeatedly, but despite knocking like this, they took half an hour to open the door. And when I looked in the room, there was no one else in the room except them, and they both were sitting with faces as if they had just woken up from sleep. I said, "Why did it take so long to open the door?" They said, "We were sleeping." I said, "Don't lie. You were awake and talking." They said, "Why would we be awake at this time? Why would we talk? We don't have any exam tomorrow that we would be preparing and staying awake. We were sleeping." I couldn't understand their behavior. I had no words to say. I couldn't understand their words because both of them were sitting as if they had just woken up from sleep. After that, I didn't say anything to them and left from there. But I thought that something was definitely wrong. I was shocked to see that one day there were bruise marks on my daughter's arm. These were injury marks. I couldn't understand what had hurt her. When I asked her, she said it was a scratch. But scratches happen on fingers, not on arms. My daughter was hiding something from me. Sometimes she would faint. Sometimes there would be strange marks on her body. And sometimes she would get up and wash her bed sheet and not let me into the room. My mind was going in one direction. I didn't want to think like that. It was my mistake. Why did I keep the boy and girl together? I shouldn't have done that. I decided what I had to do now. I shouldn't have let a young boy and girl sleep in the same room. The mistake was mine. I should have paid attention to all these things. Abhishek was Aditi's stepbrother after all, and at this age, anything can happen. And a stepbrother is still a stepbrother. So how could I put a brother and sister to sleep in the same room? This was my mistake. When we don't pay attention to our children, problems will arise. We have to pay attention to good and bad things. Children are innocent and make many mistakes in innocence. As thoughts were coming to my mind, if all these thoughts proved true, then the entire fault would be mine. I kept an eye on my son and daughter. One day, my son was giving something to my daughter. I secretly started listening to their conversation. He said, "These are your medicines for this problem. Take these pills and everything will be fine." He secretly gave those pills to my daughter. I was worried. What kind of pills was he giving her? What was the problem they were trying to solve, and why didn't I know about it? And why did this medicine seem so strange to me? My daughter also quickly took those medicines and hid them in the corner of her dupatta. My son said, "Take it before sleeping at night, then you won't faint at all the next day." And for 2 or 3 days, my daughter indeed didn't faint. But after that, perhaps those pills ran out, and a day later my daughter fainted again. My son wasn't home either, so I thought about taking advantage of this today. I very carefully pulled the sheet from under my daughter and folded it neatly and brought it to my room. I wanted to see what was on it that made my daughter start washing it as soon as she woke up, to the extent that she didn't even care about her illness. When I unfolded the sheet and looked, at first I didn't see anything. But when I looked carefully, I was shocked to see that there were white hairs on the sheet, and the entire sheet was covered with hairs. I couldn't understand what kind of hairs these were, because these hairs were completely white and tiny. I was shocked, but I couldn't understand this. I kept thinking about what was going on. I was keeping an eye on my daughter and son's actions, so I was thinking everything in my mind, but I hadn't reached any conclusion. By then, my daughter had come to know that I had seen the sheet, so she came and sat near me and started looking anxious. After that, I asked her, "What's the matter?" "Why do you look troubled?" She said, "Mom, where is that sheet?" I told her, "I've put it to wash." "You look troubled." She said, "Mom, where is that sheet?" I told her, "I've put it to wash." Hearing this, she was about to leave, but I caught her hand and stopped her. I said, "I've seen everything. Whatever was on that sheet, tell me. What is all this? What have you been hiding from me all these days? I'm very worried. Many bad thoughts are coming to my mind." She sat next to me, and then my daughter told me something that made the ground slip from under my feet. My daughter told me, "Mom, it's not at all like what you're thinking. Actually, we had seen that the conditions of this house weren't going well. The house store wasn't running, and Brother wasn't earning much money either. But we couldn't find any work that we could do. Then Brother's friend gave him a job. Actually, he had some very special breed of kittens, which were about a dozen in number, but taking care of them was beyond his capacity. So he gave us the job of taking care of those kittens and gave a lot of money for that job. Actually, Brother would be there all day, but at night, Brother also needed to rest, so they would bring those kittens to the room and I would take care of them. Their hair would be on the sheet in the morning, which I would wash because we knew that you don't like such things, and we didn't want to tell you all this. We are doing all this work, and later I found out that I'm allergic to kittens, which is why I would faint in the morning. The medicines that Brother brought for me were for this very thing, so that my allergy would lessen. Mom, Brother's friend is very rich, and he was giving us a lot of money for this work. He was giving us 1,000 rupees per day, and today was the last day of those kittens in our house because now he has gone to another city with them. And we have earned so much money that we can now put a ceiling in that room and bring some rations for the house. We know that you don't like pets, that's why we didn't tell you this, but you, without knowing, have thought so much about us. You have doubted us so much. The things you said about us pierced our hearts like arrows. I know he is my stepbrother, but he is more than my real brothers. He has always thought only about us, whereas if you see, what are we to him? His father has passed away from this world, and he also has his own relatives who are much richer than us. He could have gone and lived with them too, but he still lives with us because he never wants to leave us alone. He has always considered me his real sister. He has never said anything wrong to me, and he also supports us. He does a lot for us. He worked all day. At night, I would help him. He said that he would do all this at night too, since he had been working hard all day. That's why I told him that you should rest at night. I will look after the kittens. That's why I was helping him. I felt very regretful hearing this, and I was also very angry at myself. What all had I thought about my children? My children are many times better than what I was thinking wrongly about them. I thought such wrong things about them, which I shouldn't have even thought. We didn't tell Abhishek this. Aditi didn't tell him that I had found out everything, because this job was over anyway, and I didn't want to fall even more in his eyes. A few days later, Abhishek had the ceiling of that room redone, and now our house's room was also fixed. Gradually, we worked very hard. My daughter also started tutoring children at home. Our conditions started to improve from before. Gradually, they improved so much that there was no scarcity in our house. Life had done a lot with me, but the good thing it did was giving me very nice and good children, whether they were my own or not. By God's grace, both my children are very hard-working and understand that these are the days of their hard work. They can't sit with their hands on their hands because they don't have their father's shadow over their heads, and I couldn't do much special either. They were aware of this fact, and this is a very big thing. It's God's grace that now everything is fine. Many thanks to the one above. It wasn't like what I was thinking, but it could have been. If it had been like that, where would I have gone? In the end, I would just like to say that whatever the one above wants, that's what happens. My children are very understanding, and there is no such thing in their hearts. But still, I would advise mothers to be a little careful in the matter of children's companionship and not make the mistake that I made with my children. I shouldn't have kept them both in one room, because what didn't happen could have happened, and if that had happened, everything would have been over. My children were understanding. Perhaps that's why this didn't happen to me. Take care of your children, pay attention to their lives, and be fully informed about what they are doing when. Along with loving your children, also maintain some strictness and keep getting information from them about what mistakes they are making and what not. And keep in mind that when children grow up, their beds should be separated. I would say the same to you all. Take care of your children. Friends, I hope you liked our story. If you liked the story, like the video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and yes, be sure to press the notification bell so that you get the next update first.